I want to listen to a song that I can sing along to, not listen to some schmo wank himself on a guitar for 30 minutes. I don't care.
I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch.
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
And this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
And welcome back to another edition of the Politics Unplugged podcast. Today, Paul Bentz, one of the premier pollsters here in Arizona, joining us today as we're starting to ramp up into election season. You've got some new polling data out, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So thanks for joining us here today,
Absolutely.
man.
Thanks for having me.
So you went out and polled CD1, the primary there.
Right.
Why?
It's just a really interesting race. I think people are trying to figure out what this election is going to look like, right? And so we're in a midterm, so turnout's lower than the last presidential election. But we have these two different midterms to look at. We've got the 2014 midterm, which was one of the lowest voter turnouts. Republicans dominated that race. Doug Ducey won. All the statewide offices were held by Republicans. And then just a few years later in 2022, the last one, which a lot of people point to, was one of the best Democratic primaries. We saw Katie Hobbs win. We saw Mark Kelly win, Adrian Fontes, and down the line. And the Democrats were able to reduce the advantage in both legislative bodies down to one vote. And so as we start to go into 2026, there's a lot of questions about where things are. And all those questions sort of surround CD1. CD1 is going to be probably one of the most competitive districts if in the state, if not the country.
So you think this is much more representative of a larger picture here in Arizona as you look at CD1?
I certainly think we look at the primary. It's also one of the few Democratic primaries that seems to be competitive right now. And so we're looking at it from a competitive primary perspective, also sort of a national look at what's going to portend for 2026. And I think it just became very interesting. Not to mention that a lot of folks of influence, a lot of folks that care about things live in that district. And so there's a lot of questions of what's going on there. And we saw that there isn't a lot of, unbiased polling out there. And so we took the chance to go out and do some data.
Yeah, that's important, unbiased polling, because there's just a lot of garbage out there right now. I mean, it's hard to take a lot of this stuff seriously. A, it's so early, and B, a lot of people like to come in now into Arizona and do these polls because we're a swing state. So it was nice to see you come out with some polling there. So give us the top lines. I mean, it seems like Amish Shah, former state lawmaker, and a New York City DJ that we learned.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a DJ.
I did not know that.
He was talking about that. Thanks for listening to the podcast, Paul.
I'm sorry I missed that episode. Did he tell us his DJ name? That would be the big question.
Yeah, I don't think we asked him what his DJ name was, but he did DJ his way, I think, through Colin. Was it through college when he lived like in Manhattan?
Didn't he take some sort of class? Was that the story? He took like a DJ class?
Yeah. Just crazy. Like, I never would have had DJ Shah.
Okay. All right. The Shah of Rock or something like that.
Oh, gee. That would have been awesome. But I was like, no, it looks like Amish Shah, he's out to really a big lead, but there are a lot of undecideds here.
Sure. He's up with 32%, almost 33% of the vote. Marlene Gallon Woods is the second place with almost 11%. I mean, it's a 3-1 lead. That's certainly what you'd like to see as the leading candidate. And with about 49% undecided, I think the other big takeaway is that the other selected candidates that are going to potentially qualify for the ballot are all about 1% apiece with very, very low name ID. Like 90+%, almost all of them, the voters don't know who they are.
Yeah. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, well, this has got to be just name ID stuff because, Shah's represented the district and he ran for Congress a couple of years ago. But Woods also ran a couple of years ago, and those are pretty poor numbers at this point.
It's certainly a challenge. I mean, and bear in mind, Shah's portion of the district is a small portion, probably 25, 30%. So he has able to expand that. Obviously we look at these types of races, and typically the candidate does well in their own old LD, but beyond that, they don't have a ton of name ID. But I mean, you look across sort of the partisan demographics, the age demographics. He's doing more than 2-to-1 better among males. He's more than 2-to-1 better among females. He's got sizable leads in most age demographics as well. So it's not like, it's his base is one particular category. We see that a lot in some of these candidate bases. They focus on 65 and older, so they're doing really well because they're solidified there. But really across the board, he's doing very well, and most of the other candidates are not.
Yeah, and is it getting late for some of these other candidates to make up room? I mean, we're almost through the first quarter of this year, believe it or not. I mean, at the end of this month is the end of the first quarter. And, primaries start in early ballots go out in the end of June.
Primaries started, and we moved the primary up, to July 21st. And so we're less than 150 days from the election. And that's it's a short period of time to make up that much name ID. It's an almost impossible task at this point where you've got these folks without Herculean amounts of money. They're going to really struggle to get out in front of bigger audiences when you have a couple of known commodities. I'd say Woods and Shah are the two known commodities that have run before and probably have built-in name ID. But if you're starting at 1%, it's very difficult to think that you're going to be a competitive candidate going into the primary.
So, what's going to be the deciding factor, you think, in this district? What group of voters are going to be the deciders of this district, when you start looking at the general election as well? Because this is one of the few real swing districts, not only here in Arizona where we have two, this district, and I think it's 6 with Siscomani, but across the country, there's not a lot of real swing districts left anymore. What decides this?
Well, so for the primary, I think one of the things that folks assume is Democrats tend to trend younger, and that is so, but there's still a vast majority of 65 and older voters. So that'll be a big demographic that we're watching. And then the other thing that's really interesting, and I even got a call from my folks when I was put out the demographics, it's a heavily female respondents. Democratic primaries are female-leaning affairs. More than half, significantly more than half, closer to 55, 56, 57% of the likely voters who will show up in a primary are female. And so they will be a big driving force. So those are some of the things that we're looking in. And then it comes down to, ground game. I mean, Shah's pretty well known for his ground game and getting out there and talking to voters. And it seems to be working, at least in this early part of the campaign here.
Well, he's also really known for, I think him and Jim Waring are known for knocking on a whole lot of doors. And that makes a big difference in these kinds of races, right? Because these are more like, city council races than they are anything else, correct?
Yeah, and what's interesting is a lot of the folks that are known for this all kind of come from the same general area. Schweikert's pretty well known for door-to-door. Jim Waring's really well known for door-to-door. Shah is well known. Door-to-door is in some ways a lost art. You don't see a lot of the candidates do it. Sometimes we've seen other groups sort of take up the mantle of that, but from a candidate perspective, this area is known for wanting that sort of door-to-door direct voter contact, and he seems to be the one who does it the best. And so that's given him a lead, I think, that he started with last time, and he's held on to it.
Well, it's an interesting perspective, too, because I just think, when I was a kid, I mean, people knocking on your door was just kind of a normal thing.
Right.
Someone knocks on your door, I'm like, yeah, someone's at the door, go get it. And like today now, it's like, why is someone knocking at my door?
Right. Well, and with ring camera, post-COVID, right? So COVID basically almost killed door-to-door because you'd have to knock at the door, stand 10 feet back and hope they come to the door enough for you to talk to them. But then since then, Ring cameras, and I know there was a lot of controversy around the Ring commercial during the Super Bowl and when are we being watched and how. And
apparently all the time.
Apparently so.
We learned that through the Guthrie investigation, right?
Exactly. They're on even when they're not on. But, I think Ring cameras have made it to the point where it's more challenging to get. I mean, people are screening their door knocks just like they're screening their calls. And so, what does that mean for door to door? It definitely impacts that. Primary voters are a unique breed, right? They're paying attention. They care a lot. They show up in every election. They're such a small portion that they're a little bit unique when it comes to answering the door and things like that.
Oh, they want to chat.
Oh, yeah.
They got pointed questions.
Yeah. And that's what makes door to door more challenging. I mean, the average door visit is 10 minutes. I mean, that you don't get to go knock on the door. Hey, this is me, I'd love for your vote. Here's my card, and they go on their way. They want to chat with you. They want to talk.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort to do that.
So are you looking at anything on the Republican side in that district? You got a really, really interesting primary there with Jay Feely, former Arizona football kicker.
Right.
He's got the Trump endorsement.
Commentator, ESPN commentator. Right?
Oh, how can I forget? Yeah. I always forget that part of, apparently he was an announcer. But he's got the Trump endorsement. You did have Gina Swoboda running in that district, a former GOP chair, but she's now moved over to the Secretary of State's race. I would assume that Feely, because he's got the endorsement in that Republican primary, probably wins the nomination. But can someone like him overcome what could be a Democrat wave year?
That's what we're going to see. I think we're sort of waiting on some of these other races to see if things are solidified.
Mm-hmm.
This one was pretty clearly a 2-person race, but we wanted to measure everyone to make sure, we didn't want, you only did the top 2. That's not accurate. So we listed everyone, right, that potentially is out there and could qualify. I think we'll go back in several places probably closer to the election when we know who's in the field and get a better idea. But, the assumption is Feely would be the front runner right now. The Trump endorsement is a big deal. We see that in the primaries. It has mixed bag of results in the general election, but in the primary it certainly makes a big deal.
So this being a microcosm of the larger electorate here in Arizona, what are you finding as far as things that are important? What are voters out there really focusing on right now?
Number one's affordability. By a significant amount. For a long time, what we saw is, immigration and education kind of competed first and second among the electorate. We've seen both of those fall off quite sizably for any sort of affordability discussion, inflation, costs, concerns, things like that. The other one that does come up quite a bit is sort of housing and housing affordability. As interest rates stay high, as folks aren't able to move, as we've seen sort of that challenge in areas, which is contributing, by the way, for the lack of growth in some school districts and things. All of those are playing a big role, and we know that because not only does our data bear it out, but we see it in how they're communicating. Both, the Republicans and the Democrats are really trying to be at the forefront of affordability, trying to say, oh, no, we're the ones who can solve the affordability issue. And it's kind of interesting because on the national level, you're trying to blame Trump for the affordability issues, right? And then here locally, they're trying to blame Hobbs. And so you kind of it's like, wait, who is responsible for this? Why is it happening? But, gas prices were down for a minute, and then they're kind of creeping back up. And it's interesting because affordability, for whatever reason, in a lot of ways is tied to gas prices. And as they fluctuate, especially as they go up, affordability concerns become an even bigger thing.
Yeah, it's something voters see every day or once a week. Whenever they fill up, they have to go there and they see that price there, and they're going to be angry at somebody if it's really expensive.
Right. Well, if you drive down the street, right, you see gas prices on every marquee, every mile or half mile. You don't see the stock market every mile, right? Like if we, right, or like interest rates. Like I'd love to see signs. We should just put up signs that just have the interest rate or the stock market cost or where the Dow is or something. But really, it's the best sort of regularly changing thing that you see on a regular basis as you're driving around. And maybe it's like an old guy thing. As I become an old guy, I'm like, oh, that one's more expensive. Oh, it's down. Yeah, I admit.
I know. And if you're with somebody, you say it out loud, like, oh, price over there is only $3.09.
Wait. Oh man. And I've found myself grumbling. Certainly, it's one of the things that my kids are like, Dad, oh my gosh, you're getting so old, because I do observe the gas prices. And when you go other places, like if you go up to the White Mountains or whatever, where they get the gas from the east instead of from California, and it's cheaper, you're always like, oh wow, it's so much cheaper up here.
Stuff you used to make fun of your parents, like, why do they act like that? And you're just like,
eyebrow hair and gas prices. I used to tease my dad about eyebrow hair, and now I got it, and now I make my own gas prices.
So you grumble. I'm more of a grouser myself.
Okay.
Particularly in the morning and reading news.
You grouse? I can't believe it. I'm shocked.
I'm actually my happiest place on earth when I'm grousing.
Okay.
It's a good place to be. I don't know about you, but,
sure. So
you know.
Eeyore, you're sort of an Eeyore that way, kind of.
Yeah, Eeyore's my spirit animal.
I think so. Yeah, it sounds about right.
What else stuck out for you to you from your survey?
One of the big things for me was just younger voters. I mean, Shah was at 28.6, almost 29%, and Woods was at 4%. I mean, we talk about the Democratic Party being the party of young people. We talk about it being trying to get younger voters engaged, trying to get younger voters to show up. He's winning 29-4 in the under 29, and then the 30-39, he's winning basically 23-14. So he's got a 10-point advantage in basically all younger voters. And, Democrats need younger voters to show up. And I'm really watching the primary closely, and I'm watching the next set of voter registration. From 2022 to now, Republicans gained over 100,000. I think it's like 150,000 registrants. Democrats basically stayed completely flat. And independents are up 140,000, something like that, maybe a little bit higher than that. But both Republicans and independents have gained pretty sizable amounts of registrants in 2022, while Democrats have been flat. So I'm watching to see, are they increasing their registration? If they don't, they're going to really struggle. They had lowered the GOP advantage to 3.5 points in 2022, and it shot back up to almost 9 in 2024. That's not just Democrats winning independents. They gotta have Democrats show up.
What's the difference now? It's over 300,000 in raw numbers. So
yeah.
340,000 or something.
They had closed the delta quite a bit, and then it's opened back up fairly sizably. I mean, this is one of the high watermarks for Republican advantage over Democrats.
What's the reason for that? Is it just a failure on the Democratic Party, or is there something deeper on that, do you think?
I think it's a lack of enthusiasm. I think it was the prolonged period of time with Biden, where they weren't deciding what they're going to do. It was a little bit of lack of enthusiasm for Harris. I also think paid efforts. Quite frankly, I think when we looked at the end of 2023, and I think you and I talked about this at one point, I said Republicans don't have a ground game and Democrats do, and that's going to be really challenging going into 2024. And suddenly, Republicans have this amazing ground game, and they've, in no small part from Turning Point and others, have come in. A lot of that is paid. I don't see the commensurate Democratic effort paid to increase Democratic registration, Democratic turnout, sort of the direct voter contact. I think folks are doing it, but certainly not at the scale that Republicans are doing it.
Yeah, and I think when you start talking about Turning Point, the other thing it adds there is ground game, but like a youthful enthusiasm that it's really hard to replicate. You can get that kind of enthusiasm from Turning Point USA. And again, I think you're right. I don't see the same on the Democrat side.
Well, I mean, I heard of school districts, there's local Turning Point clubs in the schools, and they all were rallying the other schools up to go get together and watch the State of the Union. I don't hear that same level of youthful enthusiasm in the high schools from other groups. I hear a lot of, grumbling on social media and people that are upset about things, but that organizing, that getting the people actually activated to go out and do things, used to be the Democratic hallmark. They used to be much, much better at it than Republicans were. If you weren't a Democrat when you were young, you have no heart. And if you're not a Republican when you're old, you have no brain, as the saying goes. So they used to have the hold on the younger voters, but they're really sort of, they seem to have at least lost some of that enthusiasm. And I'm watching to see if they catch that back on the registration side. Then I'm really watching the Democratic enthusiasm in the primary. One of the things that we saw in 2022, which portended a very competitive race, was that Democrat turnout in the primary was really high. And so there aren't a ton of competitive races, and there weren't a ton of competitive races back then, but we saw a lot of people eager to show up and get ready to vote. That's one of the biggest things I'm going to be watching in 2026.
All right. Moving ahead into the general election, where do you see the governor's race? Again, we were talking about, voter registration and stuff like that. That's a significant issue. But, I was looking at the betting markets again in the morning because, they're more predictive than regular polls know.
There you go.
It looks like, Katie Hobbs in the prediction markets is doing much better than anybody on the Republican side. What do you see?
Well, the last few polls that we've seen in a straight-up Hobbs versus the Republican challenger, she's been doing very well, at least initially. That's what we're seeing from, survey after survey. I haven't dug deep in them. But one of the things that I'm not sure they take into account is, we're looking at 2022. If you base it on that, it was a 4-point Republican advantage. But 2024 was a 9-point Republican advantage. Democrats can't overcome a 9-point Republican advantage with just independents alone, particularly if there is an Arizona Independent Party candidate in the race. That's going to make it more difficult because they're going to siphon off some portion of independents, whether, there's debates on who it benefits or who it hurts. But, ultimately, I think that's one challenge to look at. But then it comes down to enthusiasm. I mean, she won, Governor Hobbs won in a pretty competitive general election, but she didn't, run away with it. And so she needs every single one of those votes.
17,000 votes. It's not running away with it.
Right. So she needs every single one of those votes again just to have the same turnout as last time. Mm-hmm. But if turnout's lower, if there's not that enthusiasm, the lower below 60, 5% as it ticks down towards 60 or lower, the more challenging it's going to be for any of these Democratic candidates to win statewide office.
Yeah, I think I think the Democrat has the biggest challenge. I think is Chris Mays. She only won by 240 votes or something like that a few years ago.
Right.
I think she's got some serious trouble coming up, in large part because of that voter registration advantage.
And I think down ballot, I mean, like we saw it in Maricopa County in 2024. We saw it in 2022. As you get further down the ballot, we do tend to go red. Mm-hmm. State mine inspector is generally red as just sort of a default stand.
I like my mine inspector Republican.
Yeah, exactly. But they sort of default towards the red candidate the further down they get. So I think we're going to see that trend continue. I just look at some of the numbers, and it's certainly a challenge. The other thing is that what are they talking about? If it's all negative, if it's just attacking one another, that benefits the Republicans because their base is going to stay together, right? Mm-hmm. We know they sort of have a high watermark of what they can get to. But, if you're just attacking Biggs, that's not going to be enough to enthuse people to show up. You got to give them something to vote for. And I think that's one of the challenges that we're going to see. Is anybody campaigning to increase turnout? Is anybody trying things to get more voters to show up, get lower efficacy voters? Because as negative as it gets, it just turns people off. And if they're just turned off, they're not going to show up.
All right. Well, I think maybe we should start wrapping up here a little bit. I mean, as far as, we're talking about the governor's race. Where do you see the two swing districts here in Congress? You just pulled one for the primary in CD1. You got Siscomani down in CD6 facing some challenges down there. Conventional wisdom is that both of those are pickups for Democrats this year. What do you see?
I think they're going to be very close. I don't think we're going to know either on election night. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's not, that's a really bold prediction, Paul, I'm sure. But I think that the challenge for both of those, and I know DCCC just put CD6 on the watch list. I know that they've got a Marine veteran running in that race. I know that they've put a lot of, aim at Siscomani. And Southern Arizona has been a little bit more competitive. We saw it in some of these other LD races where Democrats were able to sort of pick up. In a bad year for Democrats, we saw Volk win, for example. And so I think they see a path there, but it will be challenging for Democrats. I know the national narrative is that Democrats are going to do incredibly well because Trump is not popular. But the problem is we're not seeing that same level of Democratic enthusiasm that we've seen in the past. They need that and independents to turn on the Republicans. They need both things to flip the state blue. That was the recipe for Sinema. That was the recipe for Kelly. That's been the recipe for Hobbs. They need both of those things to happen. They need that Democratic enthusiasm, and then they need independents to show up. And with barring those two things, it's going to be a very difficult challenge in the state.
All right. I think we'll wrap it right there. Before we go, before we started taping here, you were talking a little bit about your top 5 Spotify at the end of the year.
Yes.
Do you care to share that with us?
I was lamenting the fact that Steely Dan was number 1 or 2 on my list. And I think...
Reeling in the years, baby.
Yeah. I also think... some collection of Michael McDonald, one of the bands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Doobie Brothers. I'm pretty.
I didn't have you like yacht rocking.
I've gotten into sort of the yacht rock vibe. I think it's not all soft rock is yacht rock, but all yacht rock is soft rock.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
So, I think And that's the stuff I remember listening to in the grocery store, or listening to at a store, waiting for my parents and rolling my eyes like, oh my gosh, Sailing by Christopher Cross is on. And now I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I'm like wanting a simpler time or what, but yeah,
When I hear some of those songs, I get a similar vibe, memory too, because I think about growing up in the Midwest, hearing those songs in the radio, and my mom's car had no air conditioning in the summer. And in the summertime, just sweating in the hard vinyl, and the smell, like, ugh.
But at the same time, it's so funny, as daddish as I'm getting on my soft rock. The other day, Rage Against the Machine came on, and I was alone in my car, and I was like, yes, all right.
Dad's Against the Machine.
I was suddenly like transported back to being like, yeah. Don't tell, I won't do what you tell me. I was suddenly back there. So yeah.
And then you turn around to your daughter and be like, and you need to listen to me.
Exactly.
With no sense of irony.
Because I'm the dad. That's why. Yeah, very true.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks for stopping by here. Can't wait to talk to you next time.
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome back to the second half of the Politics Unplugged podcast. Apparently, I can't speak after at this point. So
a long week.
It's been a long week, man. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Tired, dude.
Yeah.
I guess I should announce you too. It's Colin Stanton, the great producer extraordinaire.
Yeah.
As
Happy
always.
to be here. Yeah.
I'm barely here, apparently.
Yeah.
So how was your week, man?
It was fine. I'm having a little bit of Olympics withdrawal.
Really?
But,
you were like watching a lot of that. You were watching a lot of curling.
A lot of curling, as much hockey as I could.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's disappointing to have that gone.
What if for somebody who didn't get into curling, and I watch a little bit of curling, but let's say somebody just doesn't get it. What advice would you give them? Say, well, if you understand this, maybe you'll get into it then.
I mean, if you've ever played shuffleboard, that's essentially what it is. It's like shuffleboard on ice.
Mm-hmm.
They're just sliding those things and trying to get them as close to the center of the target as they can. And I think the more targets you have that are closer, or the more rocks you have that are closer to the middle than the other teams, you get points for all of those.
Oh.
So if you have 2 rocks that are closer to the center of the target than anything that the other team has, then you get 2 points. And the other team is trying to get closer to the center, but they're also trying to knock your stones away.
Yeah.
So it's very shuffleboardy.
Very shuffleboardy, and the skill there probably a little underappreciated. The footwork there is pretty incredible, isn't it?
It was astonishing to me watching them because they, as anyone who's watched any of the curling knows, they followed along with a broom, and they're brooming the ice in front of the stone to try and steer it, try and slow it down, speed it up, guide its path. And as they do that, they are walking through the other stones that are already there and not touching them, not bumping into them, not bumping it. They're going with this stone all the way down the ice, walking along with it, sliding with it, and sweeping, and don't touch any of them. And it's just amazing to me. And that's with wearing one sticky shoe and one slidey shoe so they can push themselves down. I was just mesmerized watching the footwork, and I think I saw one thing where they accidentally bumped a stone in the whole tournament.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And we'll get to the politics here in just a second, but big hockey game too to close out the Olympics.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that? It turned into quite the political ending at the end there.
And I don't think I'm the only one feeling this fatigue where you watch the game, and it was a great game, and the U.S. had an overtime win, and it was awesome. Just like the women. The women had an overtime win, and it was terrific.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of the U.S. men, it was against a Canada team that's absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really good,
it was a nice
surprise. Yeah. Everyone expected those two teams in the final, but when you looked at the Canada lineup, it was hard to believe anyone was going to beat them. And the U.S. beat them, and it was really cool. And almost immediately, it turned into Kash Patel there celebrating, and Trump calling them and making fun of the women, and then calling the men to the White House and the State of the Union, and then releasing a video with Brady Kachuk with AI trashing the Canadians, which he wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Has no reason to do.
Right. And I just, it was another case of, man, can't I just enjoy this? Can't you stay out of this and just let us enjoy the game? It was a great win. And like, you know, Kash Patel doing the whole like Make-A-Wish kid thing there, getting drunk and grabbing someone's medal and all. Just don't do this.
Yeah, you know, man, we should have got Paul back here because I wonder if you could poll, you know, Trump fatigue and how real that. And I don't know how you would ask the question, right? Do you think the president is on TV too much? Do you think there's too much politics on TV? That. I don't know how you would ask that question, but I'm sure, you know, Paul would have a pretty good answer. But I would imagine by now, it's been over 10 years of Trump that people may be just getting fatigued.
Yes.
Something we saw with Arpaio at the end of his era.
People just wanted him gone by the end. And he was an overwhelmingly popular figure before that. And by the end, it was pretty bipartisan. People wanted him gone.
And I think there were people who still kind of supported him that were like, well, you know, with Arpaio, we're just tired of the headlines. We're tired of the scandal. Yeah. We're tired of this and tired of that. Because he ended up losing by 15 points, I believe.
No, it was a landslide when he lost.
It was a landslide. And I'm wondering if we're heading into that now with Trump and not his hardcore supporters. He's always going to have 35%. I mean,
he is close. Yeah,
he is always going to be there with that. But some of the other ones, we've already seen some of the key groups that helped secure his second term have really collapsed on him.
Yeah.
Younger voters have walked away according to polling. Hispanic
Latino
voters,
black voters, the poll numbers are glaringly different.
Yeah, and these are people that you would say like were Trump curious, right?
Yeah. Well, they found out.
Yeah, and
in their view,
and they're not liking what they're seeing.
Their curiosity has been sated, and which is why the redistricting in Texas is very interesting because, from my understanding, a lot of that redistricting was creating these Hispanic areas they thought would go for Trump next time.
Yeah.
And the polls are suggesting that no, that's probably not going to be the case. And the hardcore MAGA Trump supporters will look at the hockey team and think, hey, great, woo, I'm glad he's a fan. But if you're middle of the road or liberal or anywhere to the left of hardcore MAGA, I got to think you're looking at this going, man, just back off. Don't turn this into a Trump thing. We got enough Trump stuff. Let us enjoy the game.
Yeah, and that's why I say it kind of feeds into that kind of thing. Because, and what I worry about too is if there is one event I truly still love is World Cup.
Yeah,
that's coming up.
And we know where we can guess how that's going to go.
Yeah, right. I mean, I truly love the World Cup, and I don't think the American team is going to do that well this year.
No.
But my other team is obviously since my mom is a German immigrant, I always root for the German squad, which is they always put together a tough team. I love that event. I think it's truly some of the best sport there is in the world.
Yeah, and we can. I mean, they've already given Trump a peace prize that they created, so they could give Trump a peace prize.
I know, and that's like why? Like why?
It's FIFA. That's what they do.
FIFA is, but you kind of expect that from FIFA. There's always that kind of.
And going back to the Olympics, it also would have been nice if the White House would have anything positive to say about any of the Olympians. They praised the U.S. men after the U.S. men won gold. Other than that, they mostly just kind of shit on Olympians here and there.
Yeah.
Which, come on. Yeah.
And then you brought the hockey team to the State of the Union speech.
Yeah.
Address.
Although let them leave, which was nice.
Huh?
Let them leave, which was nice because I guess they didn't have seats for them.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure the team was.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine a bunch of young hockey players being like that into politics. Like, no, man, I want to stick around for this.
Yeah, I want all 2 hours of this.
Give me all 2 hours, baby.
Yeah.
Any big other big political stories stick out with you this week?
No, I don't know that I had anything that stood out. You?
There was a good story in the Republic. Ray Stern talked about the All Nighter that lawmakers pulled in the House this past week. Is we're crossover week. If you don't know, is your deadlines to get bills moving out of their original chamber, or they are essentially dead for the year. So they just had a mountain of legislation to get through. And I believe they stayed up most of the night and didn't get out till 5 o'clock in the morning. And having been a veteran of many all-nighters down at the legislature, much respect to the reporters who stuck it out throughout the whole thing, man. I've been there. I've done that. I get it. It's a tough job. But what was funny with the Ray Stern's piece, the Republic piece, is there were people complaining about this, about how long this took, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's blaming each other. Republicans blaming Democrats for it. But it's like, well, how about this? How about you don't file so many fucking bills?
Yeah.
Like you literally, you are all literally responsible for this.
Yeah.
And I think there's something like over 70 bills they filed this year. If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. This is going off the top of my head. 70, 80 bills this year that they refiled that the governor has already vetoed.
Yeah.
And you're complaining
that
it's taking too long to get. Well, you could literally solve this.
Yes. If you were down there to do anything other than waste time and appease people by putting stuff forward that will never, ever, ever get signed into law, if you just stuck to stuff where, hey, maybe this would make the state a better place and we might have support for this, you'd be out by dinner time.
Yeah, I mean, I just got a kick out of it. Like the stuff that the governor says, like that she's already vetoed. You think it's worse? Like a campaign ad is really going to hit hard?
Yeah.
She says she vetoed it not once but twice.
Yeah.
Do you really think that's going to make that big of a? You've already got her on record vetoing stuff.
Yeah.
You do it again. Now you're complaining it takes too long. This lawmaking stuff's like hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you focus on your job and not on setting up some sort of campaign argument, you get out quick.
But the other story, national story that really got my attention, and I think it's gotten a lot more attention too, there's a piece in the Washington Post recently where there was a comedian in Nashville who'd set up a fake website where people could report undocumented migrants. And it looked like a government website and, had all the trappings of that. And people would write in. And they'd leave contact information, and this comedian would then call people back.
Yeah,
and never claimed to be a federal worker or agent or anything like that. But
someone asked him once if he was affiliated with the government, and his response was, "Well, I'm affiliated in a non-affiliated way."
Yeah, with the ISIS.
With the ISIS, yes. Yeah.
But what's amazing to me were people, he got a lot of responses.
Yeah.
And one of them was, he's getting a lot of attention, was from a kindergarten teacher who wanted to turn in some parents. Yeah, students' parents. So it was just heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, the girl, the 6-year-old was born in the U.S. The child that's in her care in her kindergarten class, born in the U.S., but the mom looked it up and determined that the parents were born in another country, so she wanted to report them so they'd be kicked out because she doesn't want her county's resources to be going to these people.
Yeah, and what was interesting is when he would repeat that, he would read back what they wrote in, or during the phone conversation, he would repeat what she would say, and then she would get angry. Well, you're making it sound bad.
Yeah,
it's like, no, I'm just repeating.
Terrible, and he's just reading what she wrote.
Just reading what you wrote.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, to me, like the message was like, when you give permission for people to act like this, like it's okay for you to just upend how little it takes to incentivize somebody just to upend somebody's entire world.
Yeah. People reporting their Uber drivers. Yeah. I think this guy driving for Uber may be from another country.
Yeah.
Someone was upset that their neighbor put trash in their can, so they were reporting them. And then there were conservatives who were upset because they said these are people who feel they're reporting a crime, and you are obstructing justice by having them reported in the wrong place. Like, okay, sorry. No. She should have been reporting the kindergartner to someone else.
That was halfway through that story. I was thinking, like, just give this guy his PhD in sociology. That's probably better than any thesis that's been written at any point, and draw your own conclusions from that. I mean, to me, it's just like people are assholes.
Yeah.
You know, this is the same. This is the reason why somebody reported Anne Frank back in the 40s.
Yes, I look at this thinking, is Anne Frank like not required reading in schools anymore?
I know, like a kindergartner.
Who do you think ends up on the right side of history with these things?
Well, you know, I don't want to use my county resources for what?
Yeah. And had no evidence that they were there illegal, as I recall.
No.
They just knew, she just knew that they were foreigners.
They looked foreign.
Yeah.
So, darker skin.
Yeah.
Probably Hispanic names.
Yeah.
They're probably, I think she said they're maybe from Honduras or something like that. I was just absolutely astounded.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's where we are. On a happier note, should we get to our annual complaint or our annual ranting? It's not really a complaint because I don't know that we care that much, but the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees are out.
Okay.
Would you like to hear who they are?
I would, and for, to pull back the curtain a little bit, I have no idea right now.
Yeah.
I am hearing this for the first time.
He is. I have the list. Dennis has not seen the list. And to be fair, I don't have that big. I know there are people who love to complain about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I generally don't have that big a beef.
Mm-hmm.
There has been one act that has consistently pissed me off. They're not in, and they're nominated.
Okay.
So we'll see. All right. We'll go in alphabetical order.
Ooh.
The Black Crowes.
Okay.
Thoughts?
When I think Hall of Fame, I think great.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're a great band. They're good, but to use the old sports cliche, like, is this the Hall of Fame or Hall of Good?
Yeah. Every time this list comes out, I am reminded of the Animal House scene where they're looking at prospective people for Rush at the Delta House. And they put up someone and they're throwing stuff at the screen, and then they put someone up and everyone's like, yeah. And then one of them goes, we need the dues. That kind of feels like what most of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees are. Like, we need the dues.
I never was a fan of Black Crowes. Not my thing.
Wildly derivative, but there's
wildly derivative.
I mean, that's it's like So anyway, Jeff Buckley. There are people who are nominated on the strength of one album. Jeff Buckley, that's on the strength of one cover song, his version of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. And I didn't check. I don't even know that Leonard Cohen's in. But if you're going to put someone on for Hallelujah, it's probably Leonard Cohen. Jeff Buckley.
I didn't even know who that was. Like, I was thinking, like, Jeff Buckley and the Beavertown.
I think he literally has one album. He had a version of Hallelujah that got very popular, in part because everyone on American Idol does his version of Hallelujah. He drowned in the Mississippi River very young. It was a tragic story. Talented guy, but this is a nomination that is based on one song and dying young and good looking. That was one of the ones I thought was just so indefensible.
We need the dues.
We need the dues. Mariah Carey.
She is incredibly successful, incredibly popular. Has moved a lot of units.
Yeah.
CDs.
Wildly not my thing. Here's the thing that got me. When I saw her name on the list last year, I thought, well, she's in. And she wasn't. Yeah. I think they do it sort of a cut down at some point. She didn't even make that. So I was surprised.
Not a fan of her music, but on the business side of this is again a business. It's hard to keep her out.
I think she's going in at some point. I don't know if this is the time.
And she also just owns Christmas.
There is that too. Yeah. Phil Collins. He's already in with Genesis.
About time Phil got in.
How big a disqualifier is Sussudio?
Look, we all make mistakes, dude. Is it fair to judge somebody from their worst moments?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's if you weren't alive in the 80s, it is hard to explain how thoroughly inescapable Phil Collins was. He was everywhere.
And Susudio is one. I mean, whatever summer that came out, whatever that summer is dominated by that.
Yeah, yeah. Melissa Etheridge.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'm lukewarm on that.
a bunch of these seem like they're really good picks for the Hall of.
I mean,
hey, I remember her.
Melissa. Again, her music derivative.
Yeah.
When she wasn't breaking any ground.
No.
Musically.
No. Here's a semi-interesting one on the one album thing. Lauryn Hill.
Oh.
The one album was a monster. People, I mean, that is a landmark hip-hop record, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. That's it. That's the resume. She, you were not counting the band stuff. No, the name's escaping me. Her other stuff hasn't really gotten the attention that it has. The fun thing would be if she does go in, she'll probably show up 3 hours late to the ceremony because that's what she does. She doesn't show up for shows. If she does, she is hours and hours late. If you have tickets to see Lauryn Hill and the show starts at 8, she'll roll in at 1. Anyway, that's sort of a no for me, but it's not my wheelhouse. I don't care that much.
You can't, and you can't understand how big that record was. It was big. It was a monster.
Yeah.
But you always want replication, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be science or, I don't know, fucking skateboarding. Like, great trick. What'd you do to follow up?
Yeah. Billy Idol.
Oh, boy. He wasn't in?
He's not in. Here's my, bottom line, I think he should probably go in. Here's my one issue with Billy Idol.
Mm-hmm.
Is Billy Idol always seemed to me like there was an episode of Family Ties and like Mallory was dating a punk rocker and they would bring in the punk rocker and it would be Billy Idol because that's just how he comes across as like this dumb Hollywood vision of what a punk rocker would be like. He'd have a red leather jacket and he'd be handsome, and have mousse in his hair, and he'd snarl every once in a while, so you knew he was punk. Yeah. But the funny thing is, he's legit.
Yeah, he was in a band called X, Generation X. He's legit.
Yeah, no, he's legit, and the songs were good. I think he probably belongs in. I just look at him and I think Hollywood prefab punk, but.
But how many? Again, going back to Lauryn Hill, there was one record. How many?
A few more than that.
How many records was Billy Idol? It was like one really big.
Rebel Yell was huge. The one before that had Dancing with Myself and Moni on it. I think the later one had like Cradle of Love. So there's some body of work there.
Okay, because like he hasn't done much in 45 years.
No, he's put out records, but no one listens to him.
No.
And he's
because they
still
all
touring.
They all won White Wedding and Rebel. Yeah, they won all the old stuff.
Yeah. In Excess. I saw In Excess a bunch of times. They were a great live band. The ending was sort of
not my cup of tea.
Undignified in a few ways. Both for there was the unfortunate passing of Michael Hutchinson. If you don't know how he went, you can look up how he went. But then later, they decided they wanted to keep touring. And so they had a reality show to pick their next singer, which, again, feels vaguely disqualifying. I'd probably vote yes, but I don't care. Okay, here's one that seems like they should have been in already, Iron Maiden.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
They kind of invented a genre, a niche of metal music
that has never gotten much respect from the hall.
Yeah, because he started talking about speed metal stuff. I mean, they were really
seems like they should already be in. I would vote for them. Okay, here's the one that I've been harping on for years: Joy Division, New Order.
Well, Joy Division, New Order. Joy Division, their first record is one of the best fucking records from that era
Yeah.
I would challenge anybody to name something better.
Yeah. And I'm a huge New Order fan. One of the absolute giants of electronic music. For those who don't know, New Order is Joy Division minus the singer. The singer for Joy Division, Ian Curtis, hanged himself literally the day before they were launching a U.S. tour. The band continued on without him and changed their name to New Order. Absolutely massive, influential techno band they should be in. New Edition.
I don't need New Edition in my life.
Neither do I. Oasis.
Nah. I'm biased against it. I just don't like that band.
Yeah. I at their peak, I think they were really, really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think based on the fact that they just had a reunion that was selling out stadiums all over the world, I'm guessing they'll go in.
We're going to do another reunion tour after they go in. They can do another reunion
Yeah.
tour.
Yes.
Need the dues.
5 more. Pink. Yeah. Hell of a performer. I mean, her whole swinging on a trapeze while actually singing things kind of astounding. I'm not sure that's a Hall of Fame trait.
I kind of like her like social media presence. She just looks like she's just enjoying life.
Yeah. She seems cool. I just don't know.
I wouldn't mind hanging out with her.
Yeah. Sade.
Sade.
Smooth operator.
Ooh.
That's a no for me, dog. But
yeah, no, it's just seeming like bordering one-hit wonder. And there's probably another few songs.
I think there were, but I don't. I wouldn't vote. Shakira.
I don't need that. No.
Massive international act, which might push her across. But yeah, 2 more. Luther Vandross.
Oh, love Luther Vandross.
Yes. See, I'll vote for him just because he was
throw
one of
him
his
in there.
earliest gigs was backup singer for David Bowie.
Oh yeah, give me some Luther Vandross.
Yeah, I'll go with Luther. And then finally, could not be farther outside of my wheelhouse. Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, they are in. Lock, stock, and barrel, dude.
See, and that my guess would be they go in. I got nothing to add. I'm not going to pretend to know jack about
just
Wu-Tang
great. I mean, just great. Culturally, game changing. Musically,
I understand.
Game changing. They're for the children, man.
It's about all I know,
dude. I do love that band.
So there we go. Those are the nominees.
So we're kind of in agreement here. We got Luther Vandross.
Yeah.
Billy Idol.
Sure.
Mariah Carey.
Whatever.
I
think she's going in at some point.
On the
That's a
business
solid.
side.
We need the dues vote for me.
Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Joy Division, New Order.
Yeah. That's about it.
That's about it.
And I think you can vote for 5 in the fan vote. So that would probably be my list minus Mariah Carey.
Who should be in now?
Well, there's also Phil Collins.
Who's next that should be in? Is Motorhead in?
I think they are. I'm not sure.
Okay. That'd be a crime if they weren't.
For years, my number 1 was Cheap Trick. They finally went in.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the Smiths. That's the other one that's not in that I think
it's
positively
the
has to
biggest
be in.
market is Morrissey, man.
Yeah. And they were bigger in England than they were here.
I mean, I love the Smiths, but man, Morrissey is such a fucking jackwagon, dude.
Yeah. He really is.
Just,
and you're probably not getting the onstage reunion they like because Johnny Marr, their brilliant guitarist, is not going to be on a stage with Morrissay.
No, and I don't blame him.
And yeah,
I'm sorry.
So yeah, artistically at this point, the 2 top of mind for me are the Smiths and Dick Dale. Surf guitarist Dick Dale.
Yeah.
He's not in.
Yeah, Dick Dale was. He invented a genre of music.
Pretty much. Yeah, he was at the forefront of surf guitar. So.
Yeah. All right, man.
I think that's about it.
Go Suns.
Go Suns.
They won last night.
Yeah.
So we tip on Friday. They won Thursday. They beat the Lakers. That was good.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
Been a rough stretch. They're a little shorthanded.
A little?
Yeah.
Missing their top 2 players.
Yeah. It's problematic.
Maybe we'll delve into that next week, man.
Yeah.
I think we're running a little bit late here, and so we got to get out of here. So we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.